Sahana vavatu Sahano bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvabhutasthhitam yo mam bhajatyekattvamaasthitaha sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mayi vartate atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna Sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadhrudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram Shri Bhagavanu vacha asamkshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha guhyate asamyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptumupayataha Arjuna uvacha ayate shraddhayopetaha yogachalitamanasah aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim krishna gacchati kachinno bhaya vibhrashtaha छिन्नाभ्रमिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पथि ये तन्मे संशयं कृष्ण छेत्तुमर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्य संशयस्यास्य छेत्तान्न ह्युपपद्यते Shri Bhagavanuvacha Partha Naiveha Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Kritaschit Durgatim Tata Gacchati. Hari Om. Namaskaram to everyone. The last we did was the 34th verse. Gayatri Ma, could we have the translation, please? Chanchalam hi manah Krishna Pramati Balavadhrunam Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayoriva Sudushkaram. So Arjuna is asking a question in the 33rd and the 34th verse, but he spells out his concern. In the 34th verse, he says, the mind, O Krishna, is restless, is chanchalam, is pramati, is turbulent, balavat, is strong, is dhridam, is unyielding, is obstinate. I deem it as very difficult to control as the wind. Vayoriva sudushkaram. Sudushkaram, it is very difficult, I feel, to control, and he compares it to the wind. If you want to bring down the entire spiritual transformation to one element, if there's one element in the entire spiritual journey that could be understood clearly, what is spiritual transformation? It boils down to the capacity to control your mind. The mind control, whenever the Shastras talk about leading a life of self-control, whether you talk of sense control, it all boils down to the mind control. And the real spiritual test is how much are you able to control your own mind. And when we talk of controlling the mind, we're talking of controlling it with your own intellect. Intellect is a measure of wisdom. And in this verse, you get one of the best definitions of the mind. Perhaps not spelled out as explicitly as it is spelled out here. Chanchalam, I've explained it just to rebrush what was said. Chanchalam means, he says, mind is restless. What makes the mind restless, what makes the mind extroverted is the undercurrent desires which the mind houses. The mind is the warehouse of desires. And we have gone about giving a license to the mind, entertaining desires. So today we have a huge database, a huge backlog of desires. And all those desires pushes the mind out into the world to acquire and enjoy the world. And it is that nature in the mind, it is those desires, those latent desires in the mind that makes the mind restless. So your mind always goes into areas you have an interest. That is where you know you have a desire for. So your mind is running behind the desires and it's running in different directions, and it is impossible to satisfy. I wouldn't say impossible, it's very difficult. In fact, it's impossible. It's impossible to satisfy every desire of your mind. I had a slight confusion, but then I quickly got clarity whether to say difficult or impossible. It is impossible to satisfy every desire of your mind. So you will soon realize it's a lost battle if you want to go about trying to satisfy every desire of your mind. So you must understand the mind is restless. And the constant agitation that lingers, even that agitation, there's an undercurrent of agitation. I said there's an undercurrent of desire and there's an undercurrent of agitation which lurks because of the constant disappointment you face because your desire doesn't get fulfilled. You could have a minor irritation or a minor annoyance or a minor grumble, or you couldn't get into a constant argument with someone. All of that is not coming out of a serene, mentally equanimous state. It comes out of a disappointment and a mental agitation. So all those agitations, when there is an undercurrent of that, there comes to a point either it hits the head or the heart. The symptoms of the mind at some stage is going to hit the head or the heart. If it hits the head, what would happen? What are the symptoms of stress when it hits the head? In a Jama, when the stress levels hit the head, what would happen?
Everything goes out of gear.
No, I'm saying ultimately when it hits the head, like when it hits the heart, you have a heart attack.
Okay. Paralysis.
No, I've been strictly cautioned not to use the word paralysis. So whenever I use the word paralyzed, I get a post-mortem report of an event comes to me, and I said, don't use the word paralyzed. So I'm afraid of what to use, what not to use. You know. So now there are so many observers observing me every time I say anything. And I got honestly, it's creating a lot of pressure on me.
You get incapacitated, Guruji.
You're being very charitable. I'm saying heart attack. If it hits the heart, you get a heart attack. If it hits the head, you get a stroke. Correct?
Paralysis is nothing but stroke only, Guruji.
You're talking the effect. I'm talking the cause. You're right. Yeah. So you get completely paralyzed. No, the physical expressions are symptoms. It is just a point to prove that it's the subtle that controls the gross. The physical body is nothing but an expression of your mind. You have a healthy mind, you will have a healthy body, you will live in a healthy environment. Your work environment becomes healthy because your mind is healthy. Your time gets managed well because you have managed your mind. You manage people well because you manage your mind. You manage others' egos because you have managed your ego. You manage wealth because you have managed your mind. Everything comes back to the primary root. The root is mind management. So if you don't manage it, there is going to be a constant stress. And all of us, whether you like it or not, whether you agree it or not, there is a constant undercurrent of stress that you're experiencing, isn't it? There's a constant undercurrent, and you don't mind, you're not mindful of that. It will have, how long does it take for you to lose your temper? How long does it take to get irritated over something? Hariji, how long does it take you to get irritated with someone? I'm not mentioning who it is. I'm just saying how long.
Instantaneous.
Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
It's an instantaneous reaction.
As if it is ready to explode. Huh? When you see an eruption of a volcano, why is there an eruption of a volcano? Is because there is the silent buildup of the lava in the belly of the mountain, in the very core of the mountain. There is a constant pressure that's built, isn't it? And it has to give a vent, it has to give a way. How long can you ensure that you can manage the world when the world is not going your way? That is actually a test to your mind management. How long can you keep your mind at bay, knowing well that the world is not going the way you want it to go? It could be, my acid test is the traffic. It's like I'm sitting on a fire, I get very annoyed, very easily annoyed, I must say that. So that is my sadhana. My sadhana is when I'm in the ceiling, when I'm being driven, I'm relaxed. When I'm driving, I said, come on, man, what are you doing? You all come from a different planet or what? Is this how you people drive? So I'm confessing my area of weakness. You got to find out what is your area of weakness, what tips you off your balance, how long can you allow the world to behave in the way it behaves and yet it doesn't disturb you. Not that you shouldn't do anything. I can't do anything about other people's actions, how they drive, how they follow the rules, if they don't follow, if they choose to or not. But yet, if it disturbs me, is because I have no control over my mind. Question, commenta, Hariji.
Krishna, he cautions in verse 60 of chapter 2, the turbulent senses of even a wise man while striving can be carried away by, the mind can be carried away by the turbulent senses, even for a wise man. So what is the chance of ours?
Yeah. So it only, yeah, you're right. It only highlights how strong the mind is, isn't it? Even a man who is a wise man who is striving, the mind is so powerful, it can take him off course. So just don't be too arrogant that you can handle the mind. You cannot. You can have all that knowledge, but your mind can, you'll fall off balance. So the first is restless. Second, he says the mind is turbulent. It becomes turbulent when your passions ride high. Your mind becomes violent, just like when the winds, the passing breeze you enjoy in the evening, you go and stand in your balcony, enjoy your passing breeze, isn't it? But the same breeze, when it gathers momentum, it becomes a hurricane. It becomes in fact, the same wind force, when it gains a certain momentum, becomes, you find in certain Western countries, you have this tornadoes. What is the effect of a tornado? It can actually wreck a ship. It can uproot, it can destroy cities, towns in a matter of few seconds or minutes. It's destroyed. What took years or decades to build is all ransacked, completely destroyed in a matter of minutes. That's the power of the wind. So he compares that power to the mind. I just do get to watch a little bit of this program. It's very interesting. And I watch, especially in the afternoon, it comes. I don't know if it comes throughout the day. And there's something called as Crime Patrol. You should get hold of that program. I don't know which channel it comes and which network it is. There's something called as a Crime Patrol. It is a reproduction of actual instances in life. So they have recaptured it just to educate people how violent the mind can be. What is that channel number? Oh, there you go. Tata Sky channel 128 Sony TV. It comes, my God, the amount of world, the knowledge and wisdom you all have is so much to learn, Thank you, Ashama. So you watch, and it just baffles me, how everything, the only thing everybody operates thereon. Okay, look, looks like Ashama knows what I'm talking about. How many of you have seen or follow that? Raise your hand. Ushama, Gayatri Ma.
One, sir.
Jay Shri. Huh? Jay
A
Shri
couple
Ma
of
also. A couple of times. Okay, that is good enough to answer the question. What do you think everybody's operating there on? I am the Krishna amongst the ladies, Ramji. I'm
There's
the only
some
one who was following.
then that desire is not fulfilled, then there is like badla lene ka, revenge. It's various topics.
Yeah, but the undercurrent of that, what are they operating on?
I don't know. I've just watched. I mean, I just watch on and off. I've never.
You watch and again try to connect what I'm talking about. Okay, ma. And now Usha ma, UK. Solungo.
Namaste, Guruji.
Yes, ma.
It's more of a sick minds, Guruji. They are disturbed minds due to passion, revenge, so many negative emotions.
They're all operating on emotions. They've given a license to their emotion without governance of their intellect.
Exactly.
At no stage have they rationalized their emotion.
Yes.
It just starts with a difference of view or a difference of opinion, or whether their love has not been accepted, or there is a resistance from the community or for what they want, and it all starts with a trickle, and then it ends up as a torrential
severe
acts of crime. And in more than one instances, they have and I said it's actually narration, depiction of what actually has happened.
Yes.
And one of the case I remember, they had taken a carpentry tool and cut the body into pieces and put them in sack bags and got disposed. And it all is happening within the family. That is the staggering part. It is not that they're doing it to any stranger out there. It's all happening within that very small pocket in the family. So how can they be such hatred? And invariably, it's the younger generation who is not able to accept the love or some emotion or some things are accepted, and they revolt and they go to the extent. And in fact, it's disturbing to watch. But if you're a philosopher, you are very objective and you learn something from there. I enjoy watching it because I see how the minds can behave, and that is what the great Vyasa is saying. Be watchful. Now you said sick minds. Now I want to ask you, how healthy are the minds of the people on the screen now? How healthy is your mind? How long does it take? How long does it take for you to tip your mental calm or get annoyed or get into anger with anyone?
Yes.
How long does it take? Harish, he said instantaneous. It's like the ready volcano, he said. Do you agree with him?
Many a times, Guruji. Only thing, how your intellect is strong and how it can control that moment, it depends, but it will be seething inside.
It is there, it is being fed inside, it is seething inside. At the same time, it at times it does manifest. But how long does it take for that minor
incident,
an emotion which is frustrating within, not expressed, you have bottled it. Second stage, you have expressed it mildly. And how long does it take from a bottled state to a minor expression to a violent expression? How long does it take?
A moment, Guruji.
It takes a moment for the mind, which is seemingly calm, to become turbulent and violent, like an act, a great, terrible act of crime conducted. There is no, what am I trying to convey here? That our mind is no different than the mind which commits those acts.
Yes, Guruji.
If has that dawned on you all, don't tell, oh, it is a sick mind that behaves like that. You and I also are experiencing those acts of rage.
Yes.
You're also experiencing that acts of state of mind of disturbance, frustration. It's just that there's enough sanity to hold that back until it gets into a
True.
relationship
Yeah.
snaps, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that is glad, Ma. Thank you. So this is what you must understand. It doesn't take long for a passing breeze to develop momentum and uproot or cause destruction, havoc. So what concerns philosophers like us is the unhealthy state of minds of people out there. And the most educated and the most cultured people have an unhealthy mind. So what are we talking about the uneducated? This is the glaring disparity we are all trying to set right the system. You all agree to it? Ramji, do you agree to the state of mind of the society? It is very concerning, very, very concerning.
Yeah, definitely. I think the amount of crime and amount of such ghastly acts we read about every day actually demonstrates that. Guruji, you were talking about younger people. The other day, I think last month, we were reading in the newspaper about a mother and grandmother killing a young boy who is hardly 30 years old, and then burying him within their own compound, and then the police came and found out. So I think there is no end to these kind of things. Principally, I think the irritations and the triggers in the environment have gone up. It is not the same. Minds
No, sir. Are you pointing the finger to the external world?
No, I was completing my sentence. I was saying that the minds are no longer trained to handle those things.
Correct.
See, in the olden days, at least there was some level of training of the mind, perhaps, which was more because there were less number of people. But now that we have 140 crore people, there is less training that is possible also to such large numbers. I think this is also one of the reasons.
Sir, are you afraid of the traffic or are you confident of your driving skills?
No, I easily get irritated, but I have.
No. I'm sir. If I can, I wanted to comment on the point you made earlier with an example. Are you confident of your driving skills or are you concerned of the traffic which has increased over the past 20, 30, 40 years on the roads? You know traffic has increased, but don't you, sorry sir, but are you not confident in your driving skills? I have to drive let's say I have to travel 500 kilometers. Are you not confident in driving skills? It could be a rough terrain, it could be into the mountains, it could be a slippery, in a rainy season, it could be slippery roads. Doesn't matter. You said, I am confident, I'm a good driver. You will be able to look out for any kind of driver because you're a good driver. We don't blame the traffic has increased. I wouldn't, I'm trying to come out very strong here is, it's not to blame whether the population has become 100 crores or 140 crores. The thing is, I have not learned that art of living. I have not learned that art of managing my mind. Therefore, I'm finding a difficulty. And it adds to the fact that there's so much more that adds to the chaos. I get paranoid. It's like someone who doesn't know how to drive would dread with fear. Am I to drive in this chaos? No, I don't want to.
True.
Wouldn't you agree with me?
Definitely. It is like I said, it is ultimately the training we have given to the mind. So perhaps how much training was given by ourselves or by the elders helped us to do it, or by someone else, teachers helped us to do it, whatever way. But I think that training was more earlier than what it is today. The exposure to outside influences is so high that the mind has really become uncontrollable.
It is an undeveloped mind, and the temptations are too high.
Yeah.
An ill-prepared mind dealing with all the forces around is an inevitable fall.
Absolutely.
The need of this wisdom is, it just gets reinforced. The more you understand from this perspective, it's just shocking. It's just shocking. I'm glad, Ji. I just wanted to make that point that it is nothing to do with the world, it's to do with ourselves. You know? The moment we get prepared, we will know how to deal with it. You know? All right. Yes, Reddy Garu.
Pranam Guruji. With respect to the subject which we're talking about, the mind management, Guruji, Way back about a year back, when we are recruiting the senior management professionals, we engaged one organization called Thomas, a US-based company, who does it more or less analysis related to the attitude of a person, particularly in situations like that, because leaving about the qualifications, experience, which are very clearly written on the piece of the CV, which they publish it. But what is not being published in the CV is about exactly, we're talking about the mind management. And we're talking about how they behave it in situations when they come into when they face it. Regrettable to note that the most of the people, before we select the candidates, we run through the test independently. The test evaluation report comes. Even the people who pass through that 70 to 80% of it, but when you put them into the real test of the actions when they happening, I said they are nowhere. Highly short-tempered, highly educated, highly qualified, experience is unaccountable in that part, but they don't know how to deal with that. They make the whole thing so mess out of it for it that instantaneously, means the control of the mind is totally out of gear. Just they are not able to. That is a basic major problem which day in, day out. So when you assign any critical assignments to a senior functionary, also required for a monitoring shadowly, how he is going to behave it. Like one of my colleague went to the customer. Of course, customer is making you run for the payment, but you cannot lose your cool. Customer is the king. Whether you like it or not, you need to accept the fact. He is making the life so miserable that I just make a parable that an ant crosses the road, you apply the brake. So the reason for not paying you is like applying the brakes. So this man lost his cool and he abused it. There is a verbal things happening. We lost a whole opportunity which we have been driving for years together to brought to a situation where customer is agreed to pay the money. This small incident has taken us back for 2-3 years of efforts what we put it. So the mind management is something really becoming I last sorry to mention that I don't give any much credibility towards the experience, the qualifications, all which has been published it. But end of a day, I don't know how to really test the people in a situations like this and take them on board, and particularly in a crucial positions. That is still a big question mark, Guruji.
No, at least the leader understands. As a leader of your organization, you understand there is this element that is essential for the management. To manage anything, you need to learn to manage others' emotions. You need to manage your emotions so that you can you can bring about your talent. The talent can be brought about only when you manage your mind well. They don't have that skill, as you rightly said. I could have a talent of playing a sport, but if I get overwhelmed with a particular emotion or anxiety while playing the sport, I can't deliver the sport. I can't bring out my talent on the field, isn't it? So it's applicable in all walks of life. And you say an experience where you had to get your get your payment from your client. So I had this experience. One of my first few experiences when I came to Hyderabad in 95, 96, when I got back from the ashram, there was this lectures of my guru. And there was a wealthy businessman. I know his name. I will not utter his name because I have no disrespect to him. He was a very wealthy businessman who wanted to help organize the lecture tour of Swamiji in Hyderabad. And I just came in. So I did not get into the organizational aspect of it because that was one of the roles I had to play wherever you took up a role of a city, So this man had promised to the academy that he will bear the flight charges for Swamiji and those accompanying him from Bombay to Hyderabad and back to the ashram. So whatever the flight charges were, whatever the figures were, he said, I will sponsor, I'll take care. So it was all understood. The Swamiji came, event went well, he went back, and I had to follow up for the payment. So you can't guess the number of visits I made to his house. I was just in my early 20s. And I was instructed to go and get this payment and send it to the ashram. The number of visits I made to the house, I was made to sit in the outside room where out beyond that there was this gate and there was this dog which used to constantly keep barking. I remember it was an experience for me to learn. He never ever met me. There were days where I would sit for 3-4 hours waiting. He's in the house, he says in a meeting and this, I never got to see him. And after a few months of going up and following up and saying, sir, could you, and there was nothing from him. And I had to call Swamiji and said, Swamiji, this person, I've tried this long and this has not happened. What do you want me to do? We will strike off his names from our diary. Because those days there were no phones, still all diaries were maintained. So I said, we will strike off his name. You don't need to contact anymore. So I had that much control in my mind. Then I don't lose my cool. I was given a job to do. My job was to get something which was to be delivered to. It didn't. Imagine if I had lost, it would have been such a disrepute to the institution, to Swamiji and as his representative. I would not have done my job. But literally imagine waiting there for hours and then here is a man who wanted to support. He gave a word and he was not honoring. You just had to do that. So you are challenged in many, many ways, but if you don't know how to manage yourself, you fall a prey to it, and then it causes considerable damage. So without going further into what the verse says, in fact, the verse also says the mind is strong, it is balavat, it's also obstinate. It doesn't give, unyielding. It doesn't give in to you. It ensures that you fall a prey to it. You give in to it. But whatever be the technical descriptions and how the strength of the mind, now my simple question is, what do you experience within whenever your mind overpowers you? Whenever your mind overpowers you, what is it that you experience? I want to ask Varshini. Varshini, are you there, Varshini?
Sorry, sir, can you say the question again?
Varshini, can you on your camera, ma?
Sorry, sir, the lighting is not clear. I'm sitting in the
Never
dark.
mind. Why are you in the dark?
I'm sitting in my room.
Never mind. There should be some light there. No, you on. There's enough
Sir.
light, Varshini. There's enough light there. I
Okay.
just got a slight glimpse of you when you on your camera earlier. I took a note of your name. I know that Soumyama told that you're coming for the classes, and I was so happy to know you're coming regularly, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, ma?
I'm 14 years old.
You should be the torch bearer of this knowledge. See, look at everybody. All are uncles and parties and tatas only.
Yeah.
I am happy talking to you only, ma. Everybody else is, I am not excuse. So you're following.
Yeah.
Now, I ask you this question. I don't know whether you can answer it, but whenever your mind overpowers you,
Okay.
what do you experience within?
I will just cry sitting in a corner.
Enama?
Can you, sir, உங்களுக்கு இந்த question and Tamil explain பண்ண முடியுமா? Overpowers.
எப்ப that mind ரொம்ப strong இருந்தானா, what do you feel? Let's say your mind wants something, or your mind is angry at someone. You're angry at someone and you get angry. You express your anger. Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
You express your anger. After that, what do you feel within? Romba santosham irukava, or you feel very disappointed with yourself? Enna feeling irukum?
I would be disappointed.
Yeah. Why do you feel disappointed? You felt angry with someone and you shouted at that person. You should feel happy, no? You don't feel happy?
No, I would be guilty.
This is the word I wanted to get. You have hit the nail on the head, Tirima. I'll give you 150 marks for that one word you have said. Very good, ma. I don't think any one of them would have answered that question. So glad. Very good. Very good. Ma, you on your video, ma. Your room is bright enough. Sariya?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma. Now, when your mind overpowers you, you feel an extreme sense of guilt. You feel a sense of committing a sin. You feel sinful. Now, my question is, why do you feel sinful or guilty when your mind overpowers you? Gopala Krishnan ji, namaskaram. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, namaste, Guruji.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. Good to have you here.
Yeah, I've been coming for quite some time.
Oh, okay. I didn't take.
But I was not keeping my camera on.
Yes,
I was silent listener all the time.
Right. Now, if I can ask you this question, sir, when you feel guilty or sinful, why do you feel guilty or sinful whenever your mind overpowers you? And you know when your mind has overpowered you.
It is quite simple, because one is sense, another is your intellect, your logic and the belief. One side you feel that I should be calm and I should be more rational. When you are calm, you are more rational. When the emotions take over you, you'll forget all other things, and emotions will take the charge of the body and behavior. Now, that's where the conflict comes. After the event, after the emotion is over, again you are back to the rational thinking. So that particular middle of the event is what the struggle is about. That struggle is tremendous struggle. And the guilt feeling, what Varshini was mentioning, is very, very, painful to the body and mind both. So this is what I've been asking, what kind of exercise we keep doing. Even if you make 1% improvement over a period of 1 month, we feel we have done achieved quite a bit. But in the middle of the event, you are so much attached to the body, attached to the idea, attached to the ego, or attached to the situation, or you are so much expectation out of the situation. All these are not happening. Then your emotion takes over you, and then you burst out. You're totally out of control. Absolutely no control at that moment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like some other, like booth has taken over you. So some spirit has taken over you, something like that. Those few moments.
Yeah.
It's a constant struggle throughout the life period. Now I'm 62, so at least from my, I think 6th year onwards, I've been listening to Ramayana and Mahabharata and all that. But till today, I still wonder why we are not able to get even a little progress on controlling our emotions in the thick of the activity, thick of the event.
Yeah. You said it in your own way, sir. Yeah, and I can understand what that guilt does and what it makes one feel, So the question I'll still explore further is, why do we feel sinful when the mind overpowers? Rajima, why do you feel sinful when your mind overpowers?
Is it because we are not following our conscience? The conscience always directs you to what is correct. And because of a weak intellect, you're not able to follow the conscience and you're following the mind. And so you feel that it overpowers you. A weak mind overpowers you because you're not following the conscience, which is guided by the intellect.
Okay. You have a point. Yes. Hariji.
Guruji, if I may put it in another very simple words, I think any feeling of guilt is an expression of dissonance. And I think the dissonance is caused because of one fundamental reason. Invariably, there is a loss of temper or emotion overtaking because of the ego and the feeling that you are superior to the situation. And when that event is past, as Gopal said, and then you reflect back, you actually realize that you are not in a superior position, you are actually inferior. And that is why and it is that dissonance that you acted out of a sense of superiority, but it actually was an inferiority. So it's lack of control and not an expression of superiority or expression of control. So I think it is that dissonance which is very difficult to reconcile with. That in spite of all the rationality, right, you know theoretically that you shouldn't do this. And it has happened to the best of us. You do get into a situation where sometimes you do use words which you, in a more rational frame of mind, would not have used, or an attitude or something. Particularly when we are dealing in official situations with subordinates, etc. Where you have a feeling of power. It is more difficult to do it in a situation of a customer where there isn't that feeling of power, unless it's a very tiny customer whom you have a great hold over for various reasons. So, it comes down to a dissonance between your feeling of superiority and an actual inferiority.
All right. You have a point. You have a point. Yes. In fact, which you all it would resonate with you. Why we feel a sense of guilt or sinful when you have not controlled your mind, because it is not your natural state to fall a prey to the mind. It is not natural. So the forces within you have designed you to conquer your mind, but yet you need to work towards it. It's like a person could be unhealthy. He doesn't feel comfort with that unhealthy state because his natural state is health. I could be obese, I could have a disease, but I have to come to acceptance of it. But would I feel wholesome and complete with it? No, because it's not your natural state. So everything in us, unknowingly also you are resisting something. When you fall a prey to the mind, you feel guilty, is because your natural state is to be peaceful and happy, and which comes only when you have happiness. Is described as cessation of agitation. When there are no agitations, cessation of agitation is happiness. And what gives away the happiness is your desires and your expectations. So when you operate on your desires and expectations, you lost your happiness. So happiness is your natural state. Now, what is the current state? I hope you're following the thought flow. First, I said, when you just even write down point by point, you'll understand the thought flow I'm saying. First, I said, what happens when your mind overpowers you? When your mind overpowers you, I said, you feel sinful, you feel guilty. Why do you feel sinful or guilty? We said, because To fall a prey to your mind is not your natural state. The natural state is to conquer the mind. So a human being is designed not to fall a prey to the mind. A human being is designed to conquer the mind. That's how a human being is designed. Now, how many of them achieve it is secondary, but you're designed, that's your natural state. Now, then thirdly, I said, happiness is described as cessation of agitations. Fourth point, I'm saying, agitation arises because of your desires and expectations not met. Now, the fifth point is, if I take a stock of life, I have desires, isn't it? Now, am I to be blamed for where I am? Or am I to be blamed for not conducting myself well? You can't be blamed for what you are, isn't it? I have a certain desires now. No, I can't be blamed for that. I am born with certain desires. Can I be blamed for that? I have a certain vasanas. But if I can give myself the capacity to give a license to my mind, if the intellect says, go ahead and fulfill that desire, you will not feel guilty. It is not the question of desire. It is not the question of expectation, but it's when it overpowers your intellect, you feel guilty. But if my intellect says, I haven't had a meal out for a long time, I would want to go and have a sumptuous meal. I would like to have a widespread, a buffet, and give myself whatever I think I want. Your intellect says nothing wrong with it. You're given a license to the mind. You would not feel guilty. So the guilt comes in only when the mind alone goes and satisfies, runs behind the desires. But if intellect comes in and gives in a sanction, you will not feel guilty. So it's a problem is not the desire. The problem is falling a prey to the desire. You must understand the difference. The problem is not the desire, is falling a prey to it. The problem is not the ego. The problem is falling a prey to your ego. The problem is not your superiority. The problem is you fall a prey to your superiority complex. I am superior by fact, but that doesn't mean I must exhibit that superiority over others. That's not acceptable, isn't it? So that comes in when you, so this only highlights the need to bring in that level of awareness. It's not what desires you have, it's how you're dealing with it. It's not what expectations you have, it's how you are rationalizing with it. And the sad part is the mind is too strong. As even Gopalji has said, how much ever you may try, but there is enough substance in this wisdom to give solution to it. Let's not undermine this wisdom. Let us not undermine the applicability of the wisdom. Okay. Now, Lord Krishna gives an answer. I'm sure we want to know what the answer is. Verse 35, please. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Guhyate. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Guhyate. The blessed Lord said, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. That itself is so beautiful to say. Doesn't matter what he said. The fact that is Shri Bhagavan itself is very enlightening. Now, what does he enlighten us with? He says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Manodur Nigraham Chalam. Asamshayam. Undoubtedly, you're right, Arjuna. Undoubtedly, the mind is restless and difficult to control. Huh? Arjuna said, it is very difficult to control the mind. Krishna is agreeing with him. Correct. Arjuna, it is, mind is chanchalam and it is dur-nigraham. It is difficult to control. And then he used the word, oh, Mahabaho. You know what Mahabaho means? You are a mighty armed soldier. You are a strong man. You are a great warrior. And a warrior would be very allergic to anything we say can't conquer. I will conquer. What are you? What? Who do you think? You think I can't conquer? I am going to defeat it. So he's just trying to, spoon feed his ego there. You are a mighty warrior, man. You are saying it difficult to conquer, difficult to control. He says undoubtedly, but he agrees. He's playing pure psychology. It's a message for us. I'll get to that. And then he says, but tu, the Sanskrit word tu means but abhyasena tu kaunteya, o kaunteya, it can be controlled through abhyasa and vairagya. The question is whether you have it in you to see what the Lord is saying. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha guhyate. It can be controlled through vairagya and abhyasa. Now, Reddy Garu, perhaps you should train all those people in your management who are in a position to communicate. You should learn this skill where you are as a leader, how to win over the other person. Look at the disparity, sir. Arjuna, with his limited intellect, is making a point that mind is difficult to control. Krishna, a giant intellect, an avatara purusha, a man of his wisdom, first agrees with him. So the pure psychology is you got to win over your client first. Then you can say he's wrong.
Yes, Guru.
Win over him, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a pure psychology. You don't have to challenge anyone out there, but if you can win their hearts over by agreeing with them first and then take them along with you. And that is what Krishna is exhibiting here. Asamshayam, undoubtedly. So this instantly captures the listener's attention, isn't it? So
Yes.
a similar thing you have noticed, I'm sure you've heard of the great experience of Narendra. You know who was Narendra?
Is it Vivekananda?
Correct. The great Vivekananda was Narendra. And the story says, and the brief context I'm quoting, Narendra went in search of every guru. He went out in search of a guru who could teach him. And he went to every guru and asked, have you seen God? And many out there said, God can't be seen. God, they rattled off Kenopanishad. Yat chakshusha pashyati yena chakshu goshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Narendra, with great respect, prostrated them and took leave. His search continued for another guru who could convince him that God can be seen. So when he came up to the great Ramakrishna, he asked the same question. Have you seen God? And what Ramakrishna said, yes, I have seen God as vividly as I see you standing in front of me. As vividly, yes, I've seen God. Instantly, he prostrated to him and he accepted me as a guru on that statement. And yet, the great Ramakrishna taught Vivekananda, which Vivekananda went around teaching everybody in the world that God can't be seen. God is that which enables you to see the world. It's not something which can be seen. How you can win over, look at the pulse. You got to feel the pulse of the student with the same thing which the great Ramakrishna did, Sri Bhagavan did. Even the same thing was done by, in the play Julius Caesar, Mark Antony when he takes to the Lupercal, the famous Mark Antony's oration. Setuji, you know that phrase which I'm talking about in that Mark Antony's oration?
No idea, Guruji. Hariom.
No idea? Tinky ma, pata hai? Mark Antony's oration. You all should get hold of it and read Mark Antony's oration. Outstanding piece of literature. My God. हाँ माँ बोलिए. We can't hear you, ma, but I can get from the expression.
I don't remember. Maybe a word or two if you say, then it may trigger, but otherwise I just cannot recall.
Okay, no problem. पूनम जी, आपको पता है माँ? Yes, yes, Poonam ma, please.
I think it was friends, countrymen started like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Very famous, yes.
But what is that phrase where he uses pure psychology? Yeah, that's the context. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
I don't remember the details.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Yes, Ramji. So we can't hear you, sir. You may have to.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
So the crowd which gathered there is supporting Brutus. So Mark Antony keeps saying, yes, yet Brutus is an honorable man. He keeps repeating that all through the speech.
Correct. And why he had to do that?
To show the point of difference actually between Brutus' honesty and Caesar's murder. So I think he brings out that difference between the two by saying like this. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. See, he comes to the stage after Brutus has convinced the mob that he did what he did was for the good of Rome, isn't it? And the mob is convinced. And then he takes to the stage.
Yeah.
Now he has to change the mob, and the truth had to be revealed that Brutus had done what he did not for the good of Rome, but for the good of Brutus. So Caesar was assassinated with a motive. And how do you bring that to the crowd? And he had to win the crowd. And every other statement he keeps saying, yet Brutus was an honorable man. He throws a salvo and he quickly takes back and says, Brutus is an honorable man. It is pure psychology. I tell you, you're going to learn so much indirectly than the pure philosophy though. You're very true, you know. So exactly the same thing is being followed here as well, you know. Undoubtedly, asamshayam, mind is very difficult to control. You know, yet Brutus is an honorable man. The same thing. You know? And then he says, but it can be controlled by practice and dispassion. Abhyasa and vairagya. So, what is dispassion? See, you have one thing that you all are guaranteed to get is you are getting the knowledge of the highest order. That doesn't make me any greater, but I'm only saying with great certainty, the quality of the knowledge that's coming your way is unparalleled. The methodologies that are being adopted is very unique, and the benefit you get in terms of the content, it enriches you with a lot of sound policies, the sound wisdom, which you would gather, because the concepts are there with pure reason. But does that give you the necessary wisdom? In fact, no guru can give you wisdom. What a guru can give you is only jnanam. But I am not also giving jnanam in a simple way. So the process of giving this knowledge itself is so unique that there is an inbuilt wisdom in it. That apart, what you have is knowledge, but you don't get wisdom. So what you all are lacking, that I am certain. What you are lacking, which you need to inject, is a little bit of vairagya, a little bit of dispassion, a little bit of abstinence. So what I'm trying to say is, knowledge without abstinence is of no use, is waste. You're having all the knowledge, but right after the knowledge, what are you doing with the knowledge? What are you doing with the knowledge? What should be done with the knowledge? Sitaramji, what, having received all this knowledge, what should be done with the knowledge?
Actually, one must internalize it and apply it whenever it is possible to be done, or wherever we can do that. Most important is to internalize and apply.
In order to internalize and see its effects of transforming and changing your course of life, what do you need in order to internalize?
Reflection.
In order to reflect, what do you need?
Of course, the other word is chintan, but I think what the exercise you mentioned the other day was this introspection in the night before sleeping.
That is just a 5-minute exercise. You're right. In fact, when you said reflection and introspection, all right? But even to do that, what is it that is required?
Discipline to do that on a regular basis.
What is it that's required? Not that. You're still not getting the word. I've actually given that word to you. I said, what did I say just now, sir? There's enough knowledge out there, but what do you need? What is lacking is
not practice. Is it the word
abstinence.
Practice?
Abstinence.
Abstinence. I'm a little confused with the word abstinence. That's why I didn't use that, because abstinence means that you are, I mean, vairagya, etc., etc. But knowledge with abstinence is a little strange combination in my understanding.
That is where I will play a role. I'm trying to. That's what I can. But I don't want to just spell it out, and then you will not understand the relevance. I'm trying to get it out of you all. Yeah. So you rightly said, having received the knowledge, you have the patra. The patra is your receptive. You come to the guru, you come to a satsang like this to receive the knowledge. So you have created, you approach the guru with inquiry, you approach the text with devotion. The result of that is your patra is full with knowledge, isn't it? Now, having received the knowledge in the patra, what do you do with the knowledge? As you rightly said, you must do chintan, you must do manan, you must do reflection, you must contemplate, you must assimilate. Now, in order to assimilate or reflect, what is required is abstinence. Abstinence is that which kickstarts the process of reflection. So even to sit for an hour a day, what do you need to do? I have recommended, the Shastras recommend, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and study the scriptures.
Yeah, you must give up your comforts. You give up the comforts, your existing method of thinking or doing things.
So
must
you
give
need
up
to
those things.
you have to abstain from what?
Your existing knowledge or existing practices.
No. First abstain from your activities which is dissipating or consuming your energy and your time and your life. Netflix, Amazon, what is all this? No, whatever
Sleep in
that
the
is
afternoon.
consuming you, late night activity, you are awake till late because nothing else to do. You are awake. You don't want to withdraw from certain activities so that you can devote that time in the most auspicious hour of the day. Are you able to withdraw? If you withdraw just to devote 1 hour of morning, I need to, let's say, retire a little early. That's all we're suggesting. By withdrawing yourself from certain activities, you create a mental availability. That withdrawal is known as abstinence. If I continue to participate in every possible activity which I've been engaging in, and yet I want to do Chintan Manan, you don't have the space, you don't have the time. So I'm telling your furniture has got old, bring in new furniture. How will you bring in new furniture? You have to take out the old furniture first, isn't it? You got to replace your existing lifestyle with something new. So can you abstain from a life or an activity that you've been used to? It's become your culture. It's become your parampara. It's become your trait. It's become your habit. It's become your life. Are you willing to change? And what it starts with abstinence. You have all the knowledge, but it doesn't commensurate into wisdom because you have not done anything to bring about a change. So reflection can happen only when you abstain from activities, then you do abhyasa. So vairagya helps you to do abhyasa. You get what the word, now you get the context of what he's saying. So when you practice vairagya, you can do abhyasa. So when you do abhyasa, what will happen?
Then you'll have this reflection and internalization of the wisdom, of the knowledge.
Having done that, what will happen?
Then you will understand the knowledge that has been given to you. And
Having
then
done what? Then what? Having done, then what would you do?
So first you abstain from your existing, say, the style of life. So you get space for yourself. With the space, you do the reflection, Chintan Manan, etc., etc. And once having got that, then you start applying that.
Okay, then what?
So once you start applying that, then you'll be in a position to gain, after all, wisdom is application of knowledge. So once you start doing
Sitaramji, I give you a bicycle. Okay. I give you a bicycle, but I'm only giving you one. I know that. 6-8 months just to wait for a bicycle is a long wait. I must say
6 months.
6 months. Okay. Now imagine I give you a bicycle and I only give you one pedal. There's only one pedal to the bicycle. Can you ride?
Obviously not. You require all the,
So therefore the cue from that example is vairagya and abhyasa are two pedals to your growth. So vairagya helps you to practice abhyasa, and the more abhyasa you do, you will be able to do more vairagya to inject abhyasa. Thereafter it becomes nirantara abhyasa. Gopalanji, this is the answer you asked yesterday, sir. Yesterday, if I'm not wrong. How to live in the God consciousness throughout. Nirantara abhyasa. The nirantara abhyasa comes in is to consolidate the knowledge you have and convert into wisdom. How do you do that? Practice withdrawal from the world. Vairagya, show dispassion to certain things which are consuming your mind, energy, time, resources. You're investing everything into it as if that's everything in life. Just take a pause. Just pause your life and say, what can I do without? For this knowledge, for this wisdom, can I withdraw from certain activities? Just take a step back. By withdrawing from the lower, you're able to invest your time onto the higher. This is tapas. Tapas is conserving your energy. conserving your energy from dissipation. And the second aspect of tapas is redirecting it to something higher. So abhyasa is directing it to something higher. Vairagya is avoiding dissipation to the lower. Harishi, can you please capture if you're there? Are you there? Tapas, point 1, point 2. Tapas, point 1 is conservation of energy by avoiding its dissipation. Tapas has two elements. One is conservation of energy by avoiding its dissipation. And that is done through vairagya. By practicing vairagya, you are conserving your energy. You are withdrawing from activities you think I can do without. Have you not survived without socializing? Have you not survived without wining and dining? Have you not survived without traveling the world? You survived a little better off. You know, why you think life couldn't go without it? Yet it went on. Everything is going on. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but just that can I do without it? So first aspect. Second aspect, having conserved the energy, you redirect it to the higher. Redirecting it to the higher is contemplation and reflection on the higher values, which is known as abhyasa. Redirecting it to the higher is contemplation and reflection on the higher values, which is known as abhyasa. Abhyasa is the practice, the sadhana which we should do. So vairagya has no meaning without abhyasa. Abhyasa has no meaning without vairagya. Mere knowledge is useless without abstinence. Mere abstinence is of no use without knowledge. It is frustration. Simply abstain with no thought to ponder on. You'll go mad. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You must wait for opportunities where you can withdraw from the world when you're left with yourself, because there's so much to ponder on. Given a little chance, I come running to the center, because all I am with is by myself. Unless when people come to attend to the various aspects of work, but otherwise I just want to be with myself, with the work, with the knowledge, so that you can do Chintan Manan. So you need to inject vairagya, because enough knowledge to ponder. But if you have, oh, I have duty towards my children, my grandchildren, you know, I have to do this and do that. Don't I have obligatory duty, Guruji? Don't give me all these excuses. Your children and grandchildren can take care of themselves. If your children have better things to do, let them do. You also have better things to do. They can do what they want, but you can't do what you want. So don't become just mere changing diapers and using wet tissues. That's the only job it becomes. Better things to do in life. I am going to spend 6 months with my child because I have to take care of grandchildren. Big duty. Come on. I have nothing against it. I'm a father. You may say, sir, if I'm living in a life of a sannyasa, not having a family and not running the show, I can understand. You may say, you can say, so you don't know what it is. I am also living exactly the same life of what you're leading. So don't tell me about it. You just have to inject the spirit. So tapas is vairagya and abhyasa. Now you see how you find the relevance of it. So it can be controlled. How exactly it helps? There's a couple of other points. I'll come back and attend to it, but you got to understand the interdependence of abstinence to reflection. Sitaramji, does that make sense? Because you said you were uncomfortable in the concept of abstinence, but abstinence is integral part of sadhana.
Yeah.
Integral part.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
What I just was the absence of the existing way of life or what we're doing to create space to do the tapas.
Even to sit for this hour, are you not abstaining from your usual activities?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have cut off. You say, I've switched off your phone. You say to the family, don't disturb me. I'm not available for an hour and a half. As simple as 1.5 hours, you're withdrawing from the world just to listen to this knowledge. Just to receive the patra, to receive the knowledge, you're doing withdrawal. But after that, what? If you don't withdraw and contemplate further, it remains as mere information. It's like I'm buying books and I've made my library very beautiful, very wholesome.
Right.
I've got a wide range of collection from Western to Eastern to continental. I've got every possible author, but I have not read and opened because I have no time. I'm sorry, I'm very busy. First, I will build the library and then one day I'll lead the library. That is of no use. You will not
Actually,
get.
it's like, you know, if I want to play better squash or like you want to play better badminton, these are all physical games. So you must improve your physical fitness levels and all that. If you want to do better, then you have to concentrate on improving your physical endurance and strength and flexibility, etc. If you don't do that, then this won't happen. It's like that. So to do those exercises and all that, you have to take out time from something else. But for that, it won't happen. Absolutely right.
Yeah. But just the same principle we got to apply. You know, you're drawing a parallel to it, but it's important we understand what the great Lord has said. If you find the relevance to it, you can actually gain enough strength. It's a matter of time. It's not doing the exercise, it's doing the right abhyasa. It's doing the right abhyasa in the right proportion. And that is, if it's not done, it doesn't produce results. I can be 30, 40 years in a spiritual field, but I will not gain the wisdom if you have not proportioned it rightly. So I'll come back to that aspect of it. I'll clarify and we'll take it further. Okay. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.